He wrote America's #1 Christmas hit, only to end up on the concrete, thrown out a window. The show I'm about to give you is built on 10 names. Most of them you already know. A man who had just opened his own studio turned up with wine poured into his lungs while he was unconscious. Another fell from a hotel window, and the glass had been removed from its frame and placed neatly on the bed. 10 names, 10 files, each one closed as an accident, an overdose, a man who simply gave up. Not one of them adds up, and every single one starts the same way. With something that was worth more than a life. Look at these faces. You know their voices. Now learn how they really died.
Send me honest you, honest you.
He keeps on rolling along.
Here I'd like to do a tune from an album called Dinah Sings Bessie Smith.
My heart is crying, crying, ha!
All right. Number 10 brings us to Jimi Hendrix into August 1970. He had just spent over $1 million of his own money building Electric Lady Studios in Greenwich Village. His first studio. He opened the doors in August. 6 weeks later, he was dead. The night before it happened, Hendrix played live at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London. He made plans for the next morning. A recording session was on the calendar. A European tour was being organized. He was not saying goodbye. His manager, Michael Jeffrey, had been routing Hendrix royalties through offshore accounts in the Bahamas for years. Hendrix found out. By September, he was planning to fire Jeffrey before their contract expired in December. Jeffrey held a $2 million life insurance policy on Hendrix, payable to himself. A living, angry Hendrix meant lawsuits and exposure. A dead Hendrix meant the payout and full ownership of one of the most valuable catalogs in the world. Dr. John Bannister treated Hendrix at St. Mary Abbott's Hospital and made a public statement. Massive amounts of red wine were pouring from Hendrix's lungs and stomach. His blood alcohol was low. A body cannot inhale a half bottle of red wine on his own. It was placed there while he was unconscious. In 2009, Rhodey Tappy Wright published what Jeffrey told him in 1971. I had to do it, Tappy. Jimmy was worth more to me dead than alive. Jeffrey died in a plane crash in March 1973, before anyone could put him in front of a jury. The catalog was already his. Across the country, a 33-year-old was carrying a briefcase with the kind of proof the music industry could not afford to let exist. In 1964, Sam Cooke owned something no black artist in America had ever owned. He controlled his masters. He had founded SAR.
Honest answer. How many songs have you written?
Dick, I don't know, but I've written
Records, his own independent label. He was 33. He was not just a singer. He was a working model that threatened how the entire industry operated.
Secret.
I think the secret is really observation, Dick. Because
What do you mean?
Well, if you observe...
Everyone inside that structure knew it. On the afternoon of December 11th, Cooke met with Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X in New York. That evening, he flew to Los Angeles.
Called Hey Hey, the Gang's All Here. Yeah.
Was it fun?
It's a lot of fun because Cass
His briefcase, and containing current business documents, was with him. He was building, not ending. Alan Klein had recently taken control of Cooke's finances.
My baby's coming home tomorrow.
Cooke had begun to understand the scale of what was being taken from him. The night Cook died, everything, his recordings, his publishing, his future royalties, transferred automatically to Klein's company, Tracy Limited.
6 years, and I haven't had a song that wasn't a hit, so I was on.
Etta James viewed the body at the funeral home. She stated publicly, Cook's head was nearly separated from his shoulders. His hands were broken and crushed.
Good news, good news.
His nose was mangled. The official story, motel manager Bertha Franklin shot him once with a .22 and struck him with a broomstick.
Made about, I'd made any popular tunes.
You hadn't made any popular songs, but you...
A .22 and a broomstick do not produce those injuries. The case was ruled justifiable homicide and closed in 3 days. No one from the music industry was called to testify.
And determine the times of your day. I think you can.
The woman at the motel that night was never charged. She was arrested for prostitution 1 month later. The briefcase disappeared the same night Cook did.
Have a party at the station.
Never recovered. 3 days from body to closed file. 2 blocks from Motown's headquarters in Detroit, a founding member of the Temptations was about to make the same mistake. Detroit, August 1973, position 8 belongs to Paul Williams. He was a founding member of the Temptations. He choreographed their entire stage show. My Girl hit #1 in February 1965. He designed the movement, the timing, the look. By 1971, Motown had pushed him out, not because he quit, but because they stopped scheduling him and stopped paying for the medical care his sickle cell anemia required. By 1973, he was telling friends he intended to sue. He knew Motown's financial structure from the inside. The accounts, the contracts, the routing of money. A man with that knowledge and that intent was a direct legal threat to Berry Gordy's operation. He was found shot 2 blocks from Motown's headquarters on West Grand Boulevard. The gun was in his right hand. The wound was on the left side of his head. He was right-handed. To shoot the left side of your skull with your dominant right hand is a physical angle that anatomy does not allow. The weapon had been fired twice. Only 1 bullet was ever recovered. No second hole was found in the car or at the scene. No fingerprints were found on the gun. Not partial. None. That is physically impossible in a self-inflicted shooting. The Wayne County coroner ruled it suicide.
I know you've been hurt by someone else.
No one from Motown was questioned. No explanation was given for the missing bullet, the wrong handgun, or the absent prints. It stayed closed.
Keep on walking and don't.
In Los Angeles, a 23-year-old who had asked similar questions about missing money was already inside a car that had been somewhere else for hours before it came home. I Fought the Law hit the Billboard Hot 100 in January 1966. At number 7, Sheer Bit Cheer, Bobby Fuller. He was 23 from El Paso, his first national chart record. Mustang Records held his contract. Mustang distributed through Delphi. Delphi's owner had a deal with Roulette Records. Roulette was owned by Morris Levy. Documented ties to the Gambino, Genovese, and DeCavalcante families. Bobby Fuller had his song on the radio and his money running through organized crime. On July 18, 1966, he left his apartment normally. His mother reported the car had been gone for hours before it reappeared outside the building.
6
Fuller was already inside. Deep rigor mortis. He had been dead somewhere else. Someone brought him back. The autopsy found gasoline in his lungs and stomach. A gasoline-soaked rag was in his mouth. Bruises on his chest and shoulders. Cuts on his face and arms. A broken finger. Consistent with a beating. A gas can was found in the car. Officers disposed of it on the scene without checking for prints. The car was never processed. Delphi financier Larry Nunez held an $800,000 accidental death policy on Fuller. Suicide paid nothing. Accident paid everything. The LAPD initially ruled suicide. 2 months later, no new public evidence. The ruling changed to accident. Nunez collected the $800,000. The case has never been officially re-examined. A different decade, a different method. A man with 20 languages and a Carnegie Hall stage, too prominent for a beating. So a different tool was authorized. Here's something that hurts. Only 1% of viewers on Music Express FM are subscribed. 99 out of 100 come for the ride, feeling the energy, discovering songs that hit right in the chest, yet you haven't joined us. Why walk away when the engine is running? Subscribing costs absolutely nothing, but it guarantees you'll always catch the next great track before anyone else. This isn't just a playlist, it's a movement. Don't listen from the sidelines. Be the 1% that fuels the music. Hit subscribe and stay on board. Paul Robeson, number 6, and a story with no insurance policy, no missing briefcase, no royalty dispute. He was a Columbia-trained lawyer, a Carnegie Hall baritone, a film star who spoke 20 languages. By 1950, the State Department had revoked his passport. They could not arrest him, so they grounded him for 8 years. Audiences drove to the Canadian border just to hear him at peace rallies. In early 1961, Robeson was healthy, active, planning a trip to Havana to document the political situation in Cuba. Time to coincide with what became the Bay of Pigs landing.
And sick of trying, I'm tired.
He was not retreating. That was the problem. Paul Robeson Jr. documented that Richard Helms, CIA chief of operations, personally authorized a covert operation against Robeson before a party held in his honor in Moscow in March 1961. MKulture was active and had been used against political targets. After that party, Robeson slashed his wrists. No prior psychiatric history. He told his son the next morning he had experienced extreme paranoia and hallucinations, a James Bond nightmare. One party, one night, complete collapse in a healthy, sharp man. Within 36 hours of arriving at the Priory Hospital in London, without consulting his Soviet doctors, he received the first of 54 electroconvulsive therapy sessions. Three of his treating physicians had confirmed links to MKulture. The CIA destroyed most of those records in 1973. What survived was confirmed at the 1977 Senate Church Committee hearings. Robeson never performed publicly again. He died in January 1976. The man at number 5 never planned a foreign trip. He wrote songs. That was enough to earn 500 pages of FBI surveillance. Phil Ucks, number 5, April 9th, 1976. The FBI opened a file on him in the early 1960s.
For I stole California from the Mexican.
By the time he died, that file was nearly 500 pages. He never committed a federal crime. He organized the protest concert at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. 10,000 people in Grant Park, police beating demonstrators on live television.
California from the Mexican land. Fought in the
He wrote, "I ain't marching anymore." COINTELPRO's stated objective in the FBI's own documents was to neutralize targets, not with a body.
Now look at all we've won with a saber and a gun.
Destroy their effectiveness, manufacture pressure, take them off the board without a crime scene. In 1973, in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Oakes was mugged and strangled.
In the Japanese sky, set off the mighty mushroom.
His vocal cords were permanently damaged. He lost 3 notes from his range. A singer lost his instrument. The FBI kept its file open.
Marching anymore. For I march.
What followed was not a mental decline. By 1975, Oakes had adopted a full alter ego. John Butler, trained right-wing aggressive who told people that Phil Oakes was dead and that he, Train, had murdered him.
One with a saber and a gun. Tell the isn't worth.
A lifetime leftist replaced by his polar opposite in under 2 years. That is the documented signature of a successful psychological operation. Oakes hanged himself at his sister's home on April 9th, 1976.
But I ain't marching anymore.
The man who died had been someone else since 1975. The FBI watched it happen and closed the file the same year his body stopped.
I ain't marching anymore. It's always.
Nearly 500 pages have been released. The rest remain classified. At number 4, no politics. Just a catalog, a mansion, and a husband who married in July and waited 5 months. 1963, position 4, Dinah Washington. Between 1943 and 1961, she charted 45 R&B singles.
Lord of Judge, send me to the electric.
What a Difference a Day Makes won her a Grammy in 1959. She owned a mansion in Detroit, a catalog still actively generating income. For 2 decades, they call her the Queen of the Blues, the highest paid black female entertainer of her era. In July 1963, she married Dick Knight Train Lane, a celebrated football player carrying significant debt.
I wanna reap for what I sow, Judge.
Under 1963 law, a husband was the primary heir of an intestate estate. Washington had no will. 5 months after the wedding, she was dead.
Pleading judge, send me to the electric.
6 weeks after that, Lane was in court claiming everything, the mansion, the royalties, the catalog. He was the only person in the house when she died.
I pulled my knife and I went insane.
No other witnesses. Friends who saw her in the days before described a woman making plans for upcoming performances. No goodbye conversations, nothing alarming.
Well, go ahead and burn me, 'cause I don't care.
She talked about what was coming next. The official cause, secobarbital and amobarbital, a lethal double dose of sleeping pills. No explanation for how a woman making performance plans ended up with a fatal drug combination in her system on an ordinary night alone with her husband of 5 months.
Judge, please, Mr. Judge.
In 1963, Detroit, as a black woman, her death triggered no formal investigation. The man who found her was never interrogated. Lane collected the estate.
Oh, well, go ahead and burn me, 'cause
The catalog kept paying her for him, not for her children. The case was never examined as anything other than an accidental overdose. Across the Atlantic, a builder who had just been told he would not be paid was standing at the edge of a swimming pool. Brian Jones founded the Rolling Stones in 1962. Position 3 is his. He named the band, assembled the lineup. Booked the first gigs. By 1966, Painted Black was #1 worldwide. In June 1969, the Stones fired him. 25 days later, July 3rd, 1969, he was at the bottom of a swimming pool. He had just bought Cotchford Farm in East Sussex, the A.A. Milne estate where Winnie the Pooh was written. He was renovating it, planning a new band. Moving forward, he had hired builder Frank Thorogood to manage the construction. Thorogood was behind schedule. The work was shoddy. Jones told him he was fired and would not be paid for the incomplete job. Thorogood had been on the property for weeks. He knew the layout, the routine, who would be where that night. Jones had the lawyers. Thorogood had nothing except access. After the other guests went inside, Thorogood stayed at the pool with Jones. Within minutes, Jones was at the bottom. Official verdict, death by misadventure, drowning compounded by drugs and alcohol, but the bruising on Jones's body was inconsistent with a passive drowning. His girlfriend Anna Wolin says directly, Jones was still alive when they pulled him from the water. Witness Janet Lawson eventually recanted her original statement before her own death, saying it was likely Thorogood, that things had got out of hand. In November 1993, Thorogood was dying. He called the Stones' former road manager, Tom Keelock. It was me that did Brian. I just finally snapped. He died that same month. Sussex police declined to reopen the case in 2009. No charges, no trial, one name left, one more man who knew what he was owed. Position 2, Jackie Wilson, and a coma that lasted 8 years. Wilson had 24 top 40 hits between 1957 and 1963. Reet Petite, lonely teardrops, higher and higher. James Brown called him the greatest entertainer he ever saw. On September 29th, 1975, Wilson collapsed mid-performance in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He hit his head on a stage. He went into a coma. He never woke up. He had sold millions of records for Brunswick Records under Nat Tarnopol and seen almost none of the royalties. In 1975, the same year Wilson collapsed, a federal indictment charged Tarnopol and Brunswick executives with mail fraud and tax evasion for skimming artist royalties. Wilson's name was in those charges. A conscious Wilson could testify, sue, demand accounting. A comatose Wilson could not speak, could not sign, could not appear. Brunswick kept collecting. The coma was a perfect outcome for the label. Like Paul Williams 2 years earlier, the man who knew too much silenced before he could act. Wilson disappeared from the legal equation at the exact moment he became dangerous. During 8 years in that facility, Brunswick paid nothing toward his care, not $1. Colleagues organized benefit concerts to cover the hospital bills. Wilson died on January 21st, 1984, with a $300,000 IRS debt and nothing in his name. The conviction against Tarnopol was overturned on a technicality.
My pillows never dry.
In 1986, Reet Petite hit #1 in the UK. The royalties went to Brunswick, not to his children. The label collected on the name of a man it had robbed and buried without a headstone. One name left. A 15th floor room, a notebook that was never found, a window no one can explain. Donny Hathaway. January 13th, 1979. Howard University graduate, trained in classical music theory. This Christmas, 1970, has played every December since. His duets with Roberta Flack. Where is the Love? 1972 Grammy winner. The Closer I Get to You, 1978. He was 33 in mid-session on a Second Flack album. Working, more to record. That morning, Hathaway was in a New York studio with Flack. Session broke down midday. He became agitated and said white people were stealing his music, had connected his brain to a machine. He went to the Essex House Hotel. He was not at peace. He was fighting something no one else in that room could name. He had a Howard education. He understood royalty structures and contract language, the architecture most artists never read. He had been vocal about financial misconduct inside Atlantic Records' accounting system. He kept a notebook with specific documented discrepancies. That notebook was with him at the Essex House. It was never found after his body was recovered. Nobody at Atlantic was ever questioned. His body landed on the pavement below his 15th floor room. Inside, investigators found the window glass removed from its frame and placed flat on the bed. Not broken, not punched through, methodically lifted out and set down. Police stated there was no evidence of foul play. They did not explain the glass. The body's landing distance was inconsistent with a simple fall from that height. A housekeeper reported an unidentified man near Hathaway's door before the body was found. No composite, nobody identified. Case closed, the notebook gone, the glass flat on the bed, the royalties still running.